to the Birdhouse Dynasty Trade Show, and happy Father's Day edition to all those Dynasty dads out there. Welcome back to the Birdhouse and our pre and post draft trades for startup drafts, as well as some other trades from some of my leagues that went on over the past couple of weeks. It is startup season for sure. Be sure to check that like button out, hit that up, hit the subscribe button. We're on our way to 200 subscribers. Please help us get there by the start of the 2025 season. It is June 15th, 2025, just 45 days away from the start of the NFL season with the Hall of Fame game, 82 days away from opening night of the regular season. So, what is going on out there? Well, we've got some startup drafts and people are excited. People are wheeling and dealing. So, what are you doing to help your rosters out? Whether you have already been in the leagues for multiple years or you're just beginning a new league, how are you deciding to play around with your assets? Are you using them wisely? Are you just being a little too crazy with them? We are here to help you out. Yes, you can check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Birdhouse Dynasty Show, just $3 a month. Get a free roster review for signing up now, or you can hit me up on buymeacoffee.com/Birdhouse Dynasty Show, and I'll do some roster reviews that way as well. We'll have some coming up this week. We've got some for Colin as Frosties out there. Yes, we'll get to those this coming week. But first, let's get to some deals that have happened, right? All those dads out there, we want to see some deals, right? So we'll head on over to my little chat room here in the Patreon. And here we go. First deal coming up here. We've got a big one. Yes, this was from my Cannonball League. It's been around for a couple of years now, heading into the third season. And we had For the Brand dealing away Drake May, Marvin Harrison, and both his 26 first and second round picks in return from Shaken Acids. He got CeeDee Lamb and Justin Herbert. So he got himself into some CeeDee Shaken Acids, gets his homeboy Marvin Harrison. So, which side do we like here in the Birdhouse? Well, it's tough to go wrong acquiring CeeDee Lamb in a trade that sort of cancels itself out. I mean, you could really just look at Herbert and Drake May. They're going in startups in a very similar position right now. I mean, really, you could draft either of them ahead of each other, and I wouldn't really bat an eye at all at it. Now, CeeDee Lamb definitely going ahead of Marvin Harrison, and he goes near the end of the first round usually, and Marv is comfortably settling in the third rounds of startup drafts. So does the 26 first and second rounders make up for the difference there between CeeDee and Marv? Well, kind of league dependent. It depends how valuable the wide receivers are in that league. This is a pretty cookie cutter 12 team start 10 Superflex tight end premium, half point tight end premium. So no extra value necessarily for the wide receivers. It is a 6 point per touchdown pass league. I don't know that that necessarily favors Herbert or May. Again, those are pretty much straight up. I can cross those guys out. But when you're looking at CeeDee Lamb and Marvin Harrison, really comes down to your bet on Marvin Harrison. What are you doing? CeeDee, we pretty much know what we got there, right? He's ranked wide receiver 4 across the board behind Chase, Jefferson, and Neighbors, however you want to rank those three. You can put Neighbors number one because he's younger. You could put Chase number one because he's more explosive. Or you could put Jefferson number one because he's the most consistent. I don't care. But right now, they're all more valuable than CeeDee Lamb on the open market. However, CeeDee Lamb always has the chance to finish wide receiver one going into any season right now with Dak Prescott selling, tossing it around. As long as Dak is healthy, CeeDee is for sure a top 5 wide receiver with potential to be the wide receiver one. Now, do we see that in the cards for Marvin Harrison? That is the ultimate question. For the Brand is giving up his first and second rounders for that guarantee to not have to sit and wait on Marv. Now, if you have a roster like Shaken Acids who's looking to win this year, but not necessarily all in, it's not a bad deal here. I mean, Marv, not all of us, but myself, I do think Marv still can become a top 5 wide receiver dynasty wise. And so this one, I'm actually going to lean the Drake May and Marvin Harrison side. I can totally understand buying the other side, CeeDee Lamb and Justin Herbert. You're definitely getting more stability there. You know what you're getting. But I like the youth aspect here because you still have a chance to win this year with these two guys. Drake May is going to be playing hero ball with New England and their new offense with Josh McDaniels. I could easily see Drake May outscoring Justin Herbert this year, if not at least being even. And then with Marv, I know Trey McBride is there, but Marv, look at the numbers. The numbers speak for themselves. He put up similar numbers to what his dad did in his rookie season. Now, him and Kyler can only grow from where they had in production last season. I think Marv is not a shoo-in, but I think he's good for probably 1,100, maybe more yards this season, 8 touchdowns. I don't know that he's going to put up 1,500 yards, 10-plus touchdowns like CeeDee probably will. But after this year, you're going to see Marv moving back up and CeeDee probably settling in the same spot next year, if not falling down a little. I mean, look at the guys right hot on his heels. Puka Nacua is right there. Brian Thomas Jr. I know Travis Hunter's there, but Brian Thomas still damn good in his own right. Plus, you've got Nico Collins. You've got, I don't want to forget anybody in that tier. Below that, you've got Ladd McConkey. You've got Travis Hunter. So there's options there that are nipping at the heels of those top-end wide receivers. And so if they slip again this year at all due to injury to their quarterback, slow play for whatever reason, you could see somebody like CeeDee slip a little. Now, I'm not betting on that. I'm just betting on Marvin Harrison getting more stats, more targets this year. They didn't add anybody else aside from him and McBride. Michael Wilson isn't stealing any targets. Greg Dortch isn't stealing any targets. I'm leaning the Marv and Drake May side, but I totally understand if you want to go with the CeeDee and Justin Herbert side as well. I just don't know that this is the place where I would use that first and second from 26 to try and buy into that. Now, there's certain instances, not necessarily in a 12-team start 10 league, but yeah, that's my piece. I don't know how else I can break it down anymore. All right. Just if you think that take sucks, go ahead and tell me in the comments. All right. Next up, we are going to move into some Jamar Chase action. Let's get this one down. There we go. right. This one is a wild one, fresh out of a startup. There, I think we can squeeze it all in there. Okay. Man, this blows it up so huge I can't downsize it here, or else you won't be able to see it. No, I can't downsize it. All right, here we go. We got Justin, JV Uncut with Grid FE, straight out of the skid marks startup draft. We got JV Uncut receiving. Look at this haul. All right, this is just a monster. Okay, so we've got JV Uncut receiving Keon Coleman, 26, 27, and 28 firsts, plus a 26 second and 28 second for Jamar Chase and a 26 third. Insane, right? Straight out of a startup, giving up your future here. This is nuts. I mean, it is a 12-team start 10 league. So yes, Jamar Chase blows Keon Coleman out of the water. I mean, Keon Coleman isn't even Keon Coleman for a third. That cancels each other out. But you're giving up your future here in 3 firsts and 2 seconds. I don't buy into that kind of philosophy of dealing. You know, JV Uncut Justin here, he can find ways to play with these first rounders. He's got at least 2 months to do so before the start of the season, 3 months actually, and he could use these firsts to go out and acquire a startable wide receiver, a startable running back, save them, package them, however he wants to play around with them. This gives him just excellent versatility right now. Hell, he could go out and acquire somebody like Nico Collins or Brian Thomas or Lad McConkey, any of those receivers in that range. They don't have to be in the top tier here. If it was best ball and I had Joe Burrow, I don't even know if I'd do it then. This is just too much going to one side. I like the JV Uncut side. Justin, good job on this deal. Grid FE, I know you're getting one of these top dogs here, but man, I don't even know if I'd pay this much for Josh Allen or Jaden Daniels or Lamar Jackson. Whew, this is a smoker. Damn, that's too much. Yeah, too much. All right. Next up. We don't have it so lopsided here. That just seems, it's not gross. I mean, I understand the wanting of a dude like Chase, but yikes. All right, here we go. This one's a little more palatable, right? Okay. Here, I'll blow it up for you even more. Here we go. Okay. So this one is in the Crash and Smash League. It is IDP, but there's only 3 IDPs and doesn't come into play at all really in this deal. So we had Matt English going out and making a deal with Foss Boss. This one had Matt English acquiring Davante Adams and Jalen Coker, giving away Dylan Sampson and a 27 second. Okay, so first off, if we want to cross off, we could do this. This is a best ball league, so I mean, you could do Jalen Coker for Dylan Sampson. I'm going to lean Coker actually in this format. Being best ball, I would prefer having even though I like Dylan Sampson, I'd prefer having the wide receiver, at least for Matt English's side. I don't hate Dylan Sampson on Chad's side, so I'm just going to, that's Foss Boss, I'm going to cross these two off. I think they're very equal. But when you look at Davante Adams versus the 27 second, all right, Davante Adams going to the Rams has just tremendous potential, not even just for 1 year. If you listen to my boy Dustin Royer over on Dynasty Rewind, he did just a sweet cut up on Davante Adams in particular, showing how he has wide receiver one potential this season. When you look at the narrowed target share, fixated on wide receivers 1 and 2 in that Rams offense, you'll understand that Davante Adams is a huge opportunity, and it doesn't even matter if he doesn't even have to eat into Puka Nakua's stats. Like, Davante Adams just looked better than Cooper Kupp last year. I mean, injury aside, Cooper Kupp did average like 18 a game in a little stretch there, like 3, 4, 5 games near the end of the season. But Davante Adams did it almost all season long on 2 different teams, right? Now he's going to a third, but with the route running and the capability and the lack of coverage that he'll have with Puka Nakua there as well, I just think that I'll take Davante Adams all day for a 27-second. I can understand if it was like a 26-second, maybe if you thought it was going to be early. I just don't like it. I would lean Davante Adams, so I like Matt English's side. I mean, value-wise, this one probably comes out even, I'm sure. But I'm going to lean the Davante Adams side and take that as a win for Matt. Boss, you're not getting crushed here. Trust me. I think that you could have gotten 2 seconds for Davante Adams alone. All right. Next up, we've got, let's see here. Just looking in the chat here. Oh, there we go. What do you think about Laporta for Kincaid? Okay. So Sam Laporta for Dalton Kincaid. It's an interesting proposition. The fact is that Sam Laporta is easily overvalued right now. One of the more overvalued players in Dynasty. We talk ADV a lot. I did it back in my my Moneyball series back in February, and we talked about ADV, artificial dynasty value, and what that is, it'll happen with names. Okay, you got that with Shedeur Sanders. Now, Shedeur Sanders going in the 3rd round isn't so bad as had he gone in the 1st round of our rookie drafts, just because of his name. But somebody like Sam Laporta has an artificial dynasty value baked into him simply because of his age. I saw a trade earlier last week on another show that had Sam Laporta and a 26-second going for George Kittle and a 26 first. Okay. Now on the surface, that one, if you throw it into the little keep trade cut calculator, sure, it comes up equal, and one side's getting the younger dude, so he seems happy. The other side is getting George Kittle, and he's scoring more points, right? But to me, I'm looking at it like, if you're giving away your 26 first, I'm going to do it in a different way. Like, I have George Kittle and a 26 first on my roster. Why would I do it? Why? If I'm going to buy Brock Bowers or Trey McBride, somebody who actually is scoring more points or potentially more points this season than George Kittle, fine. But Sam Laporta didn't score more than Kittle last year. He's not projected to score more than Kittle this year. He's in a system that just lost Ben Johnson, who created ways out of thin air to get Laporta into the end zone last year. Like, dude, I know that Laporta had a great rookie season 2 years ago, but Dynasty, we're playing the future here. Now, Laporta may play 5 more years than Kittle, right? but that's a couple years down the road. Like George Kittle is still only, what, 30, 31 years old? He might play another 4 or 5 years. He's not like toast, okay? I know he gets banged up, but the dude plays through injuries and plays well when he's hurt. He has one of the most, he's may go down as the most efficient tight end in fantasy ever. Like literally, I mean, the last 2 years, he's been under 100 targets for the season and finished top 5 at tight end. Problem with Laporta is that not only does he have Amon-Ra to deal with targets, but Jamison Williams is coming on, and Jahmyr Gibbs catches passes, and they do have a good volume. It is a good offense. I'm not shitting on Sam Laporta like he's some bum, but the reality is he isn't much different than Dalton Kincaid right now. Okay? I know that Laporta has that tight end 1 season in his back pocket, but that's not doing you anything for the 2026 season. Okay? There's no reason that Dalton Kincaid couldn't outscore Sam Laporta this year, yet you're getting him in the 6th, 7th round of a Dynasty startup, whereas Sam Laporta is going in the 3rd or 4th. Like, that's crazy. Crazy. I mean, Brock Bowers and McBride are duly going ahead of him in startups because they outscored him last year, and they're both young. But Laporta just has ADV all over him. If you drafted him last year, you probably are still stuck with him. If you were able to get out on him in a deal where you got George Kittle and a first, giving up Laporta in a second, kudos to you. That is the way to play Dynasty. Get the points, and you get the young. You get the trade up in rookie picks. Like, that is like the perfect trade to make. And I'm sure it comes out equal on a calculator, but that is the downfall of calculators and the downfall of some mindsets of Dynasty owners. Like, unless you're, even if you're tanking for the 101, like, that just isn't, it's not the way you want to, even if you had like 5 or 6 firsts in your back pocket, that's not the way to go about getting rid of those firsts. Like, if you have that many firsts, for one thing, like, and you're going into the 26th season, I mean, you can't even, it's a super hard argument to make that you're doing that deal so that it helps you get the 101 next year because it's going to score less points. Like, that is just, that's not a reasonable argument to make. It's not a good argument. It is an argument you could make, but it's not a good argument. Okay? So if it comes down to who am I drafting, like in the 5th or 6th round, I'm going to draft Laporta because, yes, on the open market, you're going to get more for Laporta than Kincaid. But if you're taking them like in a redraft format, you could argue either one. I would be fine arguing either one. And in fact, I'd almost lean Kincaid because he has the potential of a higher ceiling. Like, sure, Buffalo added Elijah Moore, and they still have Khalil Shakir there and still have Keon Coleman. So there's plenty of weapons there. And Josh Allen, ever since Stephon Diggs left last year, he didn't show that he had a true number one target. But if there is going to be that one, I would lean more towards Shakir. But it doesn't mean Dalton Kincaid couldn't be that guy in the red zone, especially. And, Kincaid's red zone numbers were probably maybe even better than Laporta's last year. Laporta, he got a lot of artificial touchdowns last year off of trick plays. And I don't like buying into something like that, all right? So if you want to buy the dip on Laporta, be my guest. It's not much of a dip right now at all. And you want to be getting an actual positional advantage at the tight end position if you're making a move like that where you're giving up a first and George Kittle, like you got to be going after Bowers or McBride. It makes no sense to go after Laporta. Okay? Because Laporta and Kincaid, to me, same tier. Okay? So that's where I'm at. If you have Dalton Kincaid, I would not be giving up anything on top of him to go and get Sam Laporta, put it that way. Okay? It's just not worth it. Find a different way to spend your draft capital or whatever else it is. If you're giving up Laporta to get Kincaid plus something, that's something I like. Okay? If that's a way you're getting out on Laporta, I got no problem with that. That's fine. Okay? Now, following up on that, I want to get into a deal that I made at the tight end position. And it also involves getting out on someone at the tight end position that has had a bunch of value, but has definitely lost some of that value. And we're talking about, yes, we're talking about Kyle Pitts. And here it is. In our 10-man best ball league, not first, you're last. This league, first place gets all the spoils. I traded with Foss and I was able to get Dallas Goedert and a 26-second for Kyle Pitts, Michael Wilson, and a 27-4. So, for one, this deal had a lot to do with my roster construction. Okay, let me bring the deal up here. Sorry. Forgot I brought down the screen. Okay, here we go. So here it is. Dallas Goedert in a 26-second for Kyle Pitts, Michael Wilson, and a 27-4. Now, if you plug this into a calculator again, you're probably equal. They might even be favored towards the Kyle Pitts, Michael Wilson side. But hear me out here. So Kyle Pitts, according to Mike Clay, is projected to be the 22nd tight end this year in points. 22nd. It's a tight end. 22nd. Yes, Mike Gesicki's projected ahead of him. Hunter Henry's projected ahead of him. Hell, I don't want to go as far as Grant Calcaterra, but I mean, Tyler Conklin might be projected ahead of him. New Chargers tight end, Tyler Conklin. Yes, my boy, Tyler Conklin. Could outscore Kyle Pitts this season. Dallas Goedert, on the other hand, pretty consistent. Okay, nothing exciting. The whole community kind of is hating on Dallas Goedert right now, but Dallas Goedert's pretty consistent, right around tight end 10 to 15. That's what you're looking at. So again, I'm looking at getting just a little bit of an uptick in points from Pitts to Dallas Goedert, and I'm getting the 26-second on top of it. Meanwhile, I'm getting rid of somebody like Michael Wilson, who, I don't want to hate Michael Wilson, but even in a best ball format, he's almost a roster clogger for me in this format because it's only 10 teams, and I had an overabundance of wide receivers from last season, plus the influx of rookies that I brought in. So I was actually over my roster limit of 30. I was at like 32 or 33, and so I was looking to find a way to get rid of bodies. So I slid Michael Wilson into this deal to get the points to make it look better if you match it up on a calculator. Now, for Foss, this isn't a terrible deal either. He's making a bet on Kyle Pitts, young tight end. He's definitely younger than Dallas Goedert. Okay, he's not necessarily a contender this year, so he gets that. Plus, he takes a shot on Michael Wilson, who he can keep on his roster, because Michael Wilson in a best ball, even a 10-team best ball, is not somebody that you want out there on waivers, right? Like, he is going to have 2 or 3 weeks this year where he squeezes into your best ball lineup. Again, I didn't hate on Michael Wilson. That's why I had him on my roster last year. I just had too many Michael Wilsons on my roster, and I needed to get rid of one of them. So That's where I slid him into this deal, made it look a little more appealing for Foss Boss. But again, this is more of a win-win trade. I just prefer my end of it because I'm getting the higher point scorer, projected point scorer, and the higher draft pick. So that's where I went in constructing this trade that way. That's how I'm looking at it. Foss Boss is making a bet on Kyle Pitts, which is fine. You want to make a bet on Kyle Pitts? Be my guest, because I've done it, as have many, many of you out there have done it. And what do we have to show for it? Unless you got that rookie season out of him and flipped him right away after that year, which would have been a genius move. I mean, imagine Brock Bowers just following up that rookie season he did with a tight end 15 season, a tight end 20 season, another tight end 15 season. We've been pretty damn disappointed, right? That's what Kyle Pitts has done so far. And so if you want out on Bowers, now's the time to sell him, because it's going to be pretty damn hard for Brock Bowers to rise anywhere in value, right? But just be smart about it, because you have a huge positional advantage. Brock Bowers did even better than Kyle Pitts in his rookie season. And I just think that Brock Bowers is a better player than Kyle Pitts was. I had never really bought into Kyle Pitts before, because I don't like buying into rookie tight ends. I had him on this squad because he was super cheap last year in the startup. And look, I'm just getting out on a bad bet. That's all. So if you've got Kyle Pitts, last week I had him in my trade video as somebody to sell. Get the value you still can at him. He's projected, again, by Michael Clay to finish tight end 22. He's Dynasty tight end 11, though. Okay, so you see the disconnect that I'm making. Meanwhile, Dallas Goedert is tight end, 17 or 18 in Dynasty, but yet he's projected to be tight end 11. It's a minimal win, but if that happens, which Dallas Goedert is finished right around that range, 10 to 15, for like 4 straight seasons. So I can kind of count on what I'm getting there. I'm not looking at Dallas Goedert to blow up and be a top 5 tight end. Yes, I could. There's a range of outcomes where I could lose that bet that I'm making here. There is that range of outcomes where Kyle Pitts outscores Dallas Goedert and becomes what we had all hoped he would become. But yeah, this is the kind of deal. This is the kind of deal that I'm looking to make. All right. Next up, we've got one more deal before we get to some of those startup deals. Okay. Great question, Colin. If anybody's got any more, throw them down in the chat. I'll be happy to answer them. Okay. Now, I should have talked about this one prior, but this is one of those little deals that you make that helps your squad in the end. And again, this isn't a bad deal for the other side. It's just one that's I'm going to explain from my side. So this deal here, same team, mind you, where I got a 27 fourth for A.D. Mitchell. Okay, Fantasy Reaper gets A.D. Mitchell for a 27 fourth. Win-win, right? Reaper gets to make a bet on a very athletic wide receiver on a team that likes to sling it deep once in a while. He could step ahead of Alec Pierce. I'm betting against that. It's a low-volume pass attack, even if Daniel Jones is the starter. You know, if Daniel Jones starts, I'm looking at Josh Downs and Michael Pittman as getting a slight bump, but not really A.D. Mitchell or Alec Pierce, okay? And if it's Anthony Richardson, still low, obviously, low-volume pass attack. Yes, in best ball, Alec Pierce had quite a few, actually, monster weeks, especially early on last year. So there is the potential there for A.D. Mitchell to have a few spike weeks. But I took that 27 fourth as free money because, again, I was overcrowded on my roster, and I didn't feel like A.D. Mitchell was cuttable, but he was at least somebody on my squad, like Michael Wilson, who people know and think have a chance, right? A.D. Mitchell was not somebody, if I cut him, he was going to get scooped up right away. So I had to avoid doing that by at least getting the 27 fourth, which I then used with Michael Wilson in that Kyle Pitts deal. I added that 27 fourth that I got, so sort of cascading the trades. Actually, that literally is cascading the trade. It's just on such a microscopic level. But I wanted to bring this to your attention because it's not always the big deals that matter. Look, I flipped Pitts for Dallas Goedert, right? It doesn't seem like a huge deal. But the fact that Dallas Goedert will get into my lineup 8 times, 9 times this coming season, whereas Kyle Pitts would have only gotten in my lineup 4 or 5 times, that matters, okay? That kind of stuff matters. And so it all just comes down to how active you want to be if you really want to try and win. So there we go. All right. Next up, I want to get into, I don't think I've got any other deals. I just want to make sure. But that was my last one that I remember. Oh no, we got one more. Here we go. This is another good one. Okay. Seems tiny, but it's a solid deal that you could consider win-win for both sides. Okay? So this one is from my Lemmy's Dynasty lineup league. 12 teams start 10. Lineup league again. And we've got Black Jesus and Lake Slavic making this swap. And both of these are top 5 rosters. Black Jesus won this league, I believe, 2 out of the first 3 years. He's got Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. We did this start up the 2020 season, so he drafted Mahomes in the first and then Josh Allen in the second, which is where he was going at that time. So he hit right away on Josh Allen's blow-up season. And so he's ridden that for a good 5 years. He's still hanging in there. See what matters? Like, back then, it was the way to go, like 2 quarterbacks out the gate. And he has ridden that tandem to quite a good amount of success. Not so much now with all of we really only have those 3, 4, 5 elite quarterbacks going down to Hurts and Burrow. After that, though, you have such a cluster of quarterbacks that personally I'm not buying into going 2 quarterbacks right away in the first 2 rounds. I can understand if you want to make a bet on Caleb Williams or Drake May or Justin Herbert, maybe CJ Stroud to go along with an elite quarterback from the first round. But I'm liking the wide receivers right there. That's what I'm looking to make sure I get out of the first 2 rounds with, is at least one of the elite wide receivers. So anyway, that's what Black Jesus has been able to do. And now Lake Slavic has done a lot of trading back and forth over the years, and he's got quite the contender. I had to turn down just an absolute insane offer for Brock Bowers from him, because I'm contending as well. I've got a pretty good monster team in this league, and he offered me just like the kitchen sink for Brock Bowers. But the fact is that everybody that he was offering me kind of had a lot of ADV, artificial dynasty value, and there was one first involved, but the other guys were like Justin Fields, J.K. Dobbins, George Pickens, all of which are good names, but they all would have technically been on my bench, right? Meanwhile, I would have been giving him Brock Bowers, and I would have been getting Dalton Kincaid back. And yes, I have George Kittle, so I could have started Kittle, but I don't mind putting Kittle in the flex and keeping that tight end advantage. And so Lake Slavic here, what he did was bolster his running back core by getting rid of some second rounders. And if you've been listening to the show, you all know I've been giving the hit rates on second rounders like crazy. It was draft season. I was telling you what those hit rates on second rounders are, and it's not that good. It isn't. Just go ahead and look at last year's draft class, right? Last year's draft class was awesome, right? How many of those second rounders hit? A.D. Mitchell, Xavier Legette. There's just, they're a bunch of bums now. Ricky Pearsall, I'll give you. He got a shot. He might have a shot this year. But his value is all artificial right now. It's all what we maybe hope he could be. Yet he's got Juwan Jennings and Brandon Ayuk still ahead of him on a team that doesn't play three wide receivers very often. They play the tight end, the second tight end, more than the third wide receiver. It's the same problem with Jaden Reed with the Packers. And I'll keep harping on it until everybody here hears it. But those are guys I don't want to bet on. That they may have talent, but the system just doesn't allow for them to blow up without an injury. You have to sit there and wait for an injury for Ricky Pearsall to be anything this year. I don't want to bet on that. Not at his price. Not when you can get Juwan Jennings 3 or 4 rounds later in a startup. So I like the trade. I can see the argument for both sides. Black Jesus doesn't have a whole lot of draft picks in his pocket, so he nets 2 seconds here, plus dart throw on Javonte Williams being the guy in Dallas. Even if he isn't the guy, he can be thrown into the lineup once or twice this year. David Montgomery, yes, will probably outscore Javonte Williams this year. David Montgomery, yes, if Jahmyr Gibbs goes down, he will be a monster. So that's why I like it that side for Lake Slavic. If I'm a contender, I'm absolutely doing this, even though a calculator will tell you that the Javonte Williams side is higher. I almost guarantee it, especially keep trade cut, because they just overvalue second round picks. But that's my opinion. Obviously, we all get to vote on it on keep trade cut. Not so much the draft picks, though. I haven't seen a draft pick vote on there recently, and that would be something good to have, because I think those 27 picks would even be bumped up a little bit more than what they're valued right now. But anyway, the 27 first specifically. But anyway, I can understand this deal from both sides. I think it's a win-win. I like it either way. If I'm a contender, I'll take the David Montgomery side. If I'm rebuilding, I'll take the Javonte Williams side, because if I'm rebuilding, Javonte Williams is somebody that I could flip mid-season for hopefully a second. If not a third, then you're getting 2 seconds and a third for David Montgomery. That's not bad for a running back that you're going to be damn hard-pressed to ever again get a first rounder for. You could hardly get a first for David Montgomery when he was alone in Chicago. So you're definitely not finding a way to get him now, a first for him now, even if Jahmyr Gibbs goes down with like a season-ending injury. Goes down with a season-ending injury, yeah, you could probably flip a first for David Montgomery in a second. You could get that first, but you'd have to give up, again, probably a second and David Montgomery just to get that first. All right. So there we have some of those deals, and I wanted to get over to the startup trades that are going on right now. We have my Birdhouse 4 draft coming up for you next Sunday night live here in the Birdhouse, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Central Time. We are going to do the first 10 rounds live with a 5-minute clock. So we've had this draft set up now for since the beginning of last week, and we've been trading like crazy, right? Let me tell you, I want to show you some of these deals right now. Let me get to the page. There we are. And let's bring it up for you. So this should be an interesting league. We got Ty DeClaire from DD Fantasy into this one. Justin Bruni, the best ball Bruni on Twitter. Check him out. Ty is on the Dynasty Deal Show as well as the All Gas Trade Show on DD Fantasy. There we go. I don't know what I was doing. Okay. So, first deal here. Again, these are all pre-startup trades. And if you can see that, hopefully, there we go. It's Ty DeClaire getting a startup 6th and 7th from Havdi Ryan here for his 4th and 10th. So Ty moved back 2 rounds to the 6th and then moved up 3 rounds from the 10th. I like that deal for Ty. I like the pocket of players in the 6th and 7th rounds. The 10th round and the 7th round, yeah, it's close, but I'll take the package there. I know what Ty was trying to get accomplished. The 4th rounder should be a decent pick for Havdi, so I don't hate it necessarily from his side either. Then he followed it up, though, Ty, with getting an 11th and 12th for a 9th and 14th. So again, getting 1 round advantage again, and it's all about the little details here, right? Moved back 2 rounds, moved up 2 rounds, but the key for me is that there's a little bit of a big tier break around round 12, and so there can be a big difference in the picks from round 12 to round 14, whereas round 9 and round 11 are very, very similar. Then I jumped into the action here with Justin, and I went ahead and got his 6th, 8th, and 9th, giving away my 5th, 9th, and 10th. So the 9th round, I moved up 4 picks, so you could cancel those 2 out. But otherwise, I moved back from the 5th to the 6th and jumped up to the 8th from the 10th. So I gained 2 rounds there. 5th round and 6th round, very similar to me, so that's why I did that deal. Then we've got Hergot getting into the action with Super Mega Toast. And Super Mega Toast jumped up into the 3rd round from the 4th round. I can understand wanting to do that, but dropping from the 10th to the 14th is a pretty big tier break there for me. So I'm going to lean Hergot on that one, although it could come down to what Megatoast is able to land here in the 3rd round, which is what the exciting part of making these pre-draft deals with. Because of the format where we're doing picks with a 5-minute clock, you're having to set up your draft ahead of time, and it's created this interesting dynamic where you're trying to trade into pockets that you like going ahead of the draft happening itself. Then here with Ramzak Nation, I was able to gain a 26 first from him by trading out of my 104 pick, and this is a 12-team best ball, start 12 with 2 tight ends plus a 0.75 tight end premium. That makes Brock Bowers and Trey McBride huge valuable assets in this league. So I was trading out of the 104 and the possible draft pick of a Brock Bowers. I was moving back to the 2nd, which is the 206 from Ramzak. And so I dropped, 12, 14 picks there. 206 is still going to get me a solid player, depending on who's available there. We'll see, but I know a good wide receiver should be there probably, or if I want to go quarterback or running back Saquon could be there. We'll see who lands there. I don't know. I'm kind of interested just to see how this plays out. I know Bowers is going to go early, but I got to know how. I have no idea how early McBride's going to go. So anyway, I was able to get a 2nd, 7th, and 10th for a 1st, 12th, and 18th rounder. So I moved back 14 spots from my 1st to 2nd. Then I was able to jump up from a 12th to a 7th and from an 18th to a 10th. This ended up netting me 12 picks in the first 10 rounds, which I love doing in best ball. As many picks as possible in the first 12 rounds, in a start 12. That's what I'm looking to do. All right. Then we had Hergot getting back into the action here. He acquired a 4th and 10th from Justin for a 2nd and a 22nd. So he moved back to the 4th round, which is a solid round, but not what you get in the 2nd round, okay? 2nd round, Justin's getting a more of an elite player. Not elite, but it's early enough. I believe this is the 204. He will land a very solid player here, so I understand. Dropping 12 rounds seems a bit steep for me. I wouldn't have done that, but I understand the thought process. Then Hergot followed that up with our final trade that we have to show you so far, with landing. Okay, so he got an extra 26 for it, which isn't much, but he moved from that 4th then down to the 6th and an 8th. So 4th and 13th for a 6th and 8th. So back 2 rounds, but up 5 rounds from the 13th. Love that. Love doing that. So Super Mega Toast is definitely moving up. He gained a 3rd and 4th rounder, so he's going to be more top heavy. Hergot trying to find that pocket between rounds 6 and 10 in that range, which I love doing as well. He's now got 13 picks, I believe, in the top 10 rounds. So that's just one angle I wanted to portray to you if you've got startups going on. And really, whether it's a best ball or lineup league, best ball more importantly, though, try and get as many picks in those top 10 rounds. Lineup league, you don't necessarily have to try and do something like that. I like doing something like that because you could flip some of those assets in the future. But once you get to round 10, it depends on how deep the starting lineups are. If it's start 12, then I want to hang out till round 12 before I start trading back too crazily. But once you get to rounds 13, 14, 15, I don't mind trading back if I can acquire some future draft capital. Okay. Best ball depth is super important. You want as many startable players every week as possible. Like in a 30-man roster league, I'm looking to have more than 20 players. Like, I want as many zeros. I want as few zeros on my roster as possible. If I can get 22, 23, 24, 25 players on my roster that are playing every single week, that's ideal for me. You don't want to have too many backup quarterbacks. I can understand if you only have, especially if you only have 2 quarterbacks in a best ball, like you have 2 monsters, your first 2 picks, maybe you trade it up into the first and you got 2 elite quarterbacks, right? You're sitting on Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow. Yes, go ahead and roster their backups. Fine. Because ideally, Lamar and Joe Burrow, they're going to be in your lineups just about every week anyway, so it doesn't really pay to pay up for a third quarterback. Sure, maybe you want to have like Aaron Rodgers or a super cheap starter. I don't know if anybody's cheaper than Rodgers right now, but I don't mind having him on any of my best ball teams, which I have him on quite a few of them. So I loved that signing occurring. But point is, be smart with your best ball rosters. Get players that are going to score points. Don't roster too many zeros. That would be, in a nutshell, what I can portray. All right. I am not overwhelmingly desperate to move up and get as many first round picks. More so, I'm desperate to get as many picks in that round 6 to 15 range. I just want to overwhelm you with volume, right? And that's not the only way to win. That's the way generally I try and have won. It's not the only way to win. You can definitely win by trading up and having 2 elite quarterbacks. I've done that as well. So it can happen. It just seems like it's been more feasible and more able to get those types of deals done where I could cluster up a bunch of picks in round 6 through 10. It is a little riskier because you have to be active. You have to pay attention to those veterans that you're buying in round 6 through 10. Like, that's the key. You're buying veterans, it's dangerous because their value can drop. You might be overpaying for the points versus what the calculator might say. Like, you might draft a Calvin Ridley over Ricky Pearsall, even though Keep Trade Cut says Ricky Pearsall's more valuable, right? You want the points from a Calvin Ridley in that instance. That's where, if I'm sitting in round 9, I don't mind trading back to round 11 and getting a Calvin Ridley or Jawan Jennings type. Okay, Jacoby Myers, right? Those kind of receivers, they don't have that artificially baked in value. Okay, and so those are the kind of little microscopic wins that if they pile up and pile up and pile up, that's how you end up coming out on top in the end. And that's why we pay attention to the details. And I just want to help you all become better Dynasty players. And so you enjoy the game more, enjoy the games that you're watching more, right? So again, please smash that like and subscribe. We're trying to get to 200 subscribers. Again, next Sunday night, we will have a Dynasty Startup Draft live. It's a 12-team best ball start 12. Monster points in this league. Start 2 tight ends. 0.75 tight end premium. Oh, I can't wait. This is just going to be wild to see where these guys get drafted. And I'm all in for it. Hope you are as well. And keep in mind that we do this so that we can help you get better. And I want to remind you all, thank you for joining on this Father's Day. Love all you Dynasty dads out there. And remember, never stop working.